In my daily work, I am the regional director in the Norwegian Food Safety Authority, operating in the 3 middle counties in Norway. And in addition to this work, I have the work as the chair of the Seafood Committee in the Codex Alimentarius Commission work. The mandate of Codex work is 2: to ensure food safety and fair practices in trade.
Yeah.
Codex works both on regional standards,
Right.
but primarily on global standards.
In a formal sense, you're a global government or global governance in that sense, are you not?
Yes, we establish trade rules that would be in the benefit of consumers all over the world,
Right.
and would also be, as I see it, a benefit for trade operators,
Right.
since the other objective is the fair practices in trade. So to reduce the obstacles in trade for foods that are traded in a world scale. We see that the trade blocks within the European Union, trade blocks within Asia, within South America, they all have their own operating rules within these trade blocks,
Right.
but we also need global rules to govern when trade blocks are not in agreement. The production of regulations in the European Union is in many ways a mirror of the operating work in the Codex.
Yeah.
The member states are brought together in working groups, and the best knowledge is brought forward as regulations for the whole European Union area, including also Norway at some points, as we work also in the Codex Alimentarius system.
But at no stage would you say that you weren't fully involved in the decision-making process and being able to influence the standards alongside all the other member states. You have an active part in the framing of those standards, don't you?
Yes, in Codex it is an obligation to work with full transparency. So at all time, in all part of the work, any countries will have the possibilities to participate and will be listened to and commented upon, and then we'll try to bring together all different views and see if there is any consensus that could be brought about at the end. It's a question of presenting science-based data and see through that these science-based data are converted into regulations that are sufficiently good for food safety and fair practices in trade.
Norway comes into this in terms of the Fisheries Committee, which you head. Norway's a big player in the fisheries industry, isn't it?
Norway, as a seafood exporting nation, will benefit from having international regulations that could be clear and foreseeable and not turning up as unexpected obstacles to trade.
So the advantage is to have one standard that your producers can work to, instead of having a variety of standards which make trading far more difficult.
Yes, to all countries exporting foods, it will obviously be a benefit to have access to all markets without being in a situation where they have to have one production line for one standard for one market and another for another market.
Yeah. There's a sort of hierarchy here, isn't there? You are the global organisation producing standards, and then you're handing them down to regional organisations like the United States, like the European Union.
Yeah, that's one way of putting it, but then we have to underline that there is no production unless the different countries do not actively participate in the development of the standard.
So they're feeding upwards.
They are not a central organization putting things downwards. It is the member states producing by consensus the regulations that they agree upon to be international worldwide standards.
When our Prime Minister, Mr. Cameron, says that when agreeing these standards we need to be at the top table, Codex is the top table, isn't it?
Codex is the top table for international standard settings. But I would say that UK has, both in the European Union and in Codex, always presented its views based on science, based on skilled based on historical evidence and based on a heavy seafood sector. So UK will be heard both in the European Union and in Codex when it comes to seafood questions. We see that when standards are established in Codex, the participating countries will, when a Codex standard is adopted by the Commission, have to amend their rules so as to be in line with the Codex standards. So we see that not only the European Union but also the other trade blocs around the world,
Like the United States?
yes, they will amend and use their regulations so to be in line with the Codex regulations themselves.